Welcome to World of Marketing Podcast, a Foster Web Marketing production. Here's your host, Tom Foster.
Hey everybody, it's Tom Foster on the World of Marketing, and yay, this is one of my favorites, Charley Mann, my good buddy, Charley Mann. Welcome, Charley Mann.
Hey, Tom. Man, you and I always love doing this just because of this right here, this moment of getting started, of getting amped up. I mean, it's fun. We get to talk shop a little bit. We get to talk about the rest of the industry. It's always a good time.
I know, man. Charley Mann of the World of Marketing. And I'm really excited to have you on the show today because I've had a bunch of guests recently. And basically the Great Legal Marketing has sponsored all of the World of most of them. You and Business Black Ops and Dave Freeze have sponsored most of them. But I thought it would be great to just kind of have a part in my World of Marketing series where we could talk about great legal marketing, because everybody's been involved and everybody always gives, such props to you and Ben and the whole Great Legal Marketing organization for everything that you've done for them. So,
and can I just say real quick how handsome, smart, beautiful, and wise all of those people are?
Aren't they?
They really are. I mean, honestly, with people who are showing up and sharing their gifts, their secrets, etc., they tend to be good folks. They just happen to be prettier and more handsome than the average person. That's my other.
Speaking of pretty and handsome, I had Joe Barbary, who was great. Great. And of course, Joe Barbary is big, Great Legal Marketing. And then John Griffith, who was on, he sang a song. So I hope you catch that one. And of course, you guys changed his world and connected us together. And of course, I have so much to thank you and Ben for the relationship, the way that we've been, working together over all these years, helping lawyers out of the trenches. And speaking of, I thought we would start this conversation because Charley and I talk all the time, about what's going on in the legal marketing world. And one of the things that we've been wanting to talk about is really what's going on in the lawyer market. Are people being honest with themselves? Are lawyers being honest with themselves about their business? And so, Charley, let's talk about that a little bit, because I want to hear your take on when I say that. Are lawyers being honest with themselves?
Yeah, so I'm gonna go almost like a little origin story here on how, because I remember the conversation you and I had, where that's the genesis of this podcast.
And you told me I couldn't call anybody liars, and we had only Ben could say you're a liar. We're not allowed to say liars, so we're doing that very softly. Go ahead.
It's all about internal congruency.
Right.
And it was because, when I first started working in this world, I was a young pup, right? Fresh out of college and all this stuff. And I'm working with these attorneys who, in my mind, are all making $1 million a year, right? Because a lot of times what we see is we see that external presentation that people put on. And most people really want to have an upgraded version of themselves shown as the external self that may not reflect the internal reality or even their external reality behind the scenes. So they may project wealth. They may project, hey, I'm super successful. But if you were to walk into their office, and this might be why they won't take people to the office, it's them and one or two other people, and they haven't upgraded the space in a while. And the truth is that they're running high-end expenses through the business and they're barely taking any actual profits out. What profits they do have are being sunk into cars and a mortgage on a home that maybe was just, they were extending themselves farther than they need to. But when I came into this world, again, coming out of college as a theater major, where if you make $35,000 a year, you're raising the roof right there. That's excitement. When I saw all of this, I was like, wow, that is living. And then as I started talking with more attorneys, I started seeing behind the scenes more and more. I started seeing offices. I started hearing the real conversations. What I realized was there's there is this difference between reality and what we're projecting. And
Yes.
and that creates conflict. That creates an issue. That lack of internal congruency of here's how I'm acting, but this isn't how I'm actually living, is where so many problems occur. And I'm not going to pretend for a moment that I haven't been guilty of that myself. I mean, especially in like my very mid 20s when I'm sort of trying to make it, right? There were times when I was overextending myself. There were times when, you know, I bought nicer clothing that didn't make an impact on my life or anyone else's life or perception of me because I wasn't myself in those clothes, or I wasn't myself in that moment. And that created a lack of internal congruency. So I'm coming from a place of understanding and
Of
having
experience.
Yeah,
yourself.
exactly.
Yeah.
You know, I've talked in a previous edition of this very podcast, I talked about how at one point my bark was bigger than my bite.
Yeah.
And
Me too.
yeah, it happens. I mean, any entrepreneur.
Any profession, anybody. And it's, you know, but I guess, and it's a great point you're making, Charlie. It's really just, we're asking everybody just to be honest with yourselves and, you know, take a look in the mirror. By the way, there's nothing wrong with projecting greatness, and there's nothing wrong with projecting $1 million, but you got to do, and I think you should, by the way, but you got to do the back end stuff. And that's what we're talking about. You got to, if you're going to do that, if you want that, that's great, but you actually have to follow it up with the work.
Yeah.
Right.
And
which is what we're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely following up with the work. And it can be easy sometimes. Let me give a really raw practical example here. So let's say it's a law firm doing $500,000 a year business, and you've got the owner and maybe two other people in the firm. That's a pretty good number for a lot of law firm owners. They're probably pulling home 300, 350 in personal income, right? And that's really exciting. But the way that they go out into the world is they're afraid to tell people that they only have 2 employees. So because they want to make it seem like they're actually running a $2 million law firm, not a $500,000 law firm. And so they try and put themselves in places with people who have 18 people under roof rather than 2 people under roof. And they're skipping parts of their journey. That doesn't mean you can't learn from the person who has 18 people under roof. Obviously, they were there at 2 people before. You should be learning from that person. But when you think like, oh, I'm just going to skip ahead, I'll never need to hire employees 3, 4, 5 up through 17 before 18. That's where you're doing yourself an internal disservice, because you are always projecting outwardly, I'm a $2 million firm. So you can't go to a coach, you can't go to a mastermind group and say, I'm at 2 people, because you're scared of only, and I'm putting that in heavy air quotes here,
right?
Only at 2 people. That's your journey. Honor that journey. Respect that journey. Live that journey.
Be honest with
that journey.
Be honest.
Yep. Yeah. The truth is, no one's gonna judge you for it. And the people who would judge you for it, they don't matter.
Right.
They don't matter one bit. And that took me a while to learn, to really because I always thought like, oh, you know, the perception of me is going to have such a big impact. And the truth is the people who cared that much were bad matches for great legal marketing at large anyways. So that wasn't an actual problem. That was all head crap that I dealt with.
So on this note, I was thinking about when you were talking about that, John Griffith, who was on here a couple days, I think last week. I'm not sure how they're lined up, but you know, not saying that he was lying to himself or anything like that, but an example of somebody that was a really good lawyer, is a good lawyer, but didn't understand the business of running a law firm, didn't understand how to market the business of a law firm. And that's what we're talking about here we're not talking about, you know, like if you're a great lawyer or not. We're talking about if you're because you have to be the CEO of your law firm. It's a different thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're talking about, not your law acumen. That's a whole different discussion, conversation that Charley and I have no part in. Charley and I talk about marketing stuff and business and how to grow. And Charley has the great honor and privilege of working and coaching with a lot of very successful law firms, solo, small, and you have them in heroes and icons categories, right?
Yeah.
That's like the $0 to $1 million firm, the solo guys that are getting going, ramped up, and there's plenty of those guys that are, hell yeah, those are the entrepreneur attorneys. And then the big firms, the icons, it's great watching people move from that first hero level to the icon level. I just talked to Michael Monteforte, another one, right? Another great success of somebody that is exactly what we're talking about, Charley. Not that he was lying to himself, but it's just recognizing what you don't know, which is you need marketing help. And where do you go get it? Great legal marketing.
Well, and yeah, I mean, yes, we'll help get everything in line. And increasingly, tell me how you do it. Tell me how you take, like, if I'm a broken lawyer, like I'm a guy, hey, Charley, I'm 30 years old. I started my own practice. I'm not getting the business that I'm looking for. I thought it was this. I got a couple of, it's just not working. Like, how do you help me? How do you fix me? What do I do? So the biggest thing that's going to happen is we're going to focus on, are you playing your own game or are you playing someone else's game? And this, again, goes to internal congruency, because if you are playing someone else's game, which usually means two things. One, your monkey see, monkey do approach on marketing. You see another firm that maybe has a mentor of yours in it. You go, I'm just going to do the same thing as him or her, right? I'm just going to copy that person. So that's the first point of issue here. The second one is you're considering, hey, I need to get these leads. I have these companies coming to me and they're telling me, I'm going to get you on the first page of Google. I'm going to go, you're just going to pay per lead. I have all these magic bullet solutions for you, none of which sound like any real work. And you just kind of hand over all of your marketing, all of your strategic thinking, all of the business development aspects over to these companies without you being the primary driver. And then you end up wondering why you have this system that you never really asked for, because you didn't ask for a system. You didn't know what to ask for in the first place. So you're playing the game of either your competitors or of the marketing company that you decided to hire, instead of setting the game and the rules for yourself. So the first thing we're doing is we're saying, here is your game. Here's how you establish your unique, what we call your standout advantage, your unique advantage in the marketplace. Once you understand who you are and who you're for, now we can figure out all the rest. Now we can build what we call prospect pipelines, or your hero network for referrals. We can develop all of that marketing collateral, and we'll show you strategically and tactically how to do that. But the other thing, the really other important thing is, I just spent a split second over there kind of bashing on vendors in a way, but now I want to flip that entirely, which is, now that you've done the internal work, now you can go and get the external pieces. We want you working with vendors. We want to be the biggest enabler of every marketing relationship that you have. We want to set you up to have such great success with every vendor that you work with, because you bring to the table just as much as they want to bring to the table for you. And when we can match that up, that's where we're going to produce tremendous results. And now sometimes that means being cognitively honest. I need to hire some in-house staff to handle my marketing for me. But sometimes it means I got to go and find a vendor to handle this for me. And you need to be able to work in both directions. And again, setting the stage for complete congruity with your life. Congruency, not congruity. I just totally flubbed that word because I'm excited.
It's great, buddy. I'm in.
Yeah.
Sold.
So that's going to be, if we've got that. And it's funny, I've talked with several members recently. Most of them are in about their late 30s, early 40s, who are in that journey right now. They're awakening to all of it. They often will have a kid who, their oldest kid is somewhere between 8 and 13 years old. And the youngest kid is usually older than about 4 years old. So they're at that point now where there's more time that they're putting into the business, right? That's pretty common at those ages because the kids are a little bit more independent. But not only are they trying to put more time into the business, they're also somehow at the same time trying to draw time back into their lives, because now it's soccer practices, now it's dance recitals, now it's swim team. It's all the stuff that they want to be doing. So they're excited entrepreneurially, but they're also really excited for what's going on in the family. I love helping those people. I'm having this exact conversation, why do you believe that someone should do business with you over all other options, including doing nothing? That's the baseline question for the standout advantage. When you figure that out, oh, wow, like really cool things can happen. You're gonna like your practice a lot more because you're gonna see your reason for being. And when you get this all sounds so metaphysical, and my 23-year-old version of myself is rolling his eyes so hard at me right now, Tom. But turns out I'm right at this point more so than I was at that point.
Yeah.
When you understand that reason for being, which is something that took me a while, probably took until I was, and look, I think I was fortunate enough to find it earlier on in life than most people do, because I found it by about the age of 27, 28, sort of my reason for wanting to do all of this. When you find that out, that drives so much of the rest of it. That doesn't mean that you can't do the work. You have to do the work. Just having a reason alone does not equate to success. But when you have a reason and you have that mindset for implementation, for the workhorse mentality, I was just talking this morning with a brand new private client. He's awesome. He's a PI attorney, won't reveal any extra details, but great guy who's just like, Charlie, I am a workhorse. If you tell me what I'm supposed to get done, I am going to get it done. Like, I love
That's what I want to key on, because, all right, so we set the tone for the classic $0 to $1 million lawyer that's looking to grow. They're stuck. They're like, you're right. I mean, like a lot of them are in that, early 30s, mid 30s, whatever. And they got, kids at a certain age and they're putting more into it, but they also need to have more independence. It's a perfect storm. And what they need is a roadmap, and they need a strategy, and they need, what do I do? And that's, like a lot of people just come to you with like, what do I do? And that's really the thing, everybody, is that Charlie and Ben have put together an amazing program for that has everything that you need. So you don't need to go figure it out yourself, from how to hire people, how to get more leads, how to get more referrals, how to set up, your office so it's more efficient running. So everything that somebody needs, you can learn not only from Charlie, but from the other members in the hero level of the organization. There's like, you have it like you have two levels. It's like a level within a level, like Hero Accelerator, and right.
Hero Accelerator.
Touch on that a little bit for me.
Yeah. So, and in both Hero and in Icon, which Icon being the 7-figure firms, whole other kind of story.
Right. We'll talk about that in a minute. Yeah.
But the Hero Accelerated group. So that's a mastermind group. That is attorneys who are all on that similar journey, coming together to collectively share and improve their experiences. It brings to the table collective wisdom and accountability. And those are transformative forces. Now, look, we have sort of the ways that we get it done, right? We have the quarterly strategic planning sessions. We have the monthly accountability call. We have a Slack channel that they interact on, et cetera. But the focal points are collective wisdom and accountability. And we've engineered the tools to provide those resources to our accelerated members, because sometimes, and this goes back to the original topic of conversation, sometimes the way to free yourself is to be in a room where other people who are being more honest than you are. And that's one of the magical points of the accelerated groups in both levels, is that ability to come into the room and say, this is me, this is where I'm at, this is what I need help with, just as much as you want to go into the room and say, I freaking rock. Here's the stuff that I knock out of the park. Because by the way, the other members, they want you to bring that stuff with you. They really do, because they're going to learn from what
They
you
want
are
both.
great at
Everybody wants
doing.
both. Yeah.
But if you come into the space and all you ever do is say, here's my great thing. And by the way, this is what I find most frequently is when people start talking about their great thing, and that's the only thing that they do, they're only ever telling you what they've launched in the last 30 days. What they rarely tell you is there a program they've been running for 3, 6, 9 years that
Oh, that's a
continues
great
to kill it?
point.
Because
That's a great point that brings us, to the beginning of what we were talking about, of being honest with yourselves, because that's just measurement. That's what you were saying too about, like, don't just send all your shit to a vendor, because you have to track it. You have to measure. You have to know what's working, what's not working. And you're right. Like, if you're going to get involved in this mastermind group, you have to go in there. It's a two-way street. You have to be honest. You have to go in there with your facts, because a true mastermind group is going to hold you accountable and say, throw bullshit. And I've seen it, because I've been in them. And, it's like, hey, prove it. Prove that that's where all your leads are coming from. Prove that campaign worked. Let me see. That's part of the greatness of that mastermind group.
That's the toughest. And this is where I think that having a great facilitator in a mastermind group is important. And this is when I broke down for myself mastermind groups that I have led or participated in the past. When we were relaunching these accelerated programs, I kind of had some levels of criteria that I wanted to establish in how this operated. One of the most important pieces of criteria is the challenge, is challenging the assumptions and challenging the throwaway points that people may have. I'll use a practical example here. In one of our accelerated meetings, we had someone who just she was talking about her firm, and she mentioned very early on in the presentation, she said, oh, I have this employee who's kind of toxic and creating problems. And then she just moved on. And then she said like 3 or 4 other things. I said, oh, we're going to go back to the employee thing. There's a reason you started with that. It was the first thing that came to your mind. I know you want to talk about this thing that was your number 4 thing that you thought you wanted to talk about, but we can't correct that until we talk about the fact that you have a poison in your veins right now, stealing your resources, your emotions. So it doesn't matter if we achieve number 4, because number 1's got to be so having that culture of challenge where you don't just let them dictate what they want to talk about. If you have a great facilitator, that facilitator is going to come in and is going to be an active listener and is going to find things that you didn't necessarily want to talk about, but for some reason you put it in front of yourself.
And also connect the dots. That's the other thing, is that because you and I are in other mastermind groups, that are run by other people that connect the dot, like Brian, Brian Kurtz, the Titans. I mean, like, he's a great connector of people. That's the other benefit of being in this group. Like, when you're in this group, these are lifelong friendships that you make, because honestly, you bare your soul to these people, and they to you, and it becomes a family. It's very much of a community, and everybody's out to help each other. So, I mean, like, it changed thank God for Ben, because he's the one that got me into it, 20 plus years ago, when you were still like whatever you were doing, Charlie. But
we're gonna leave that. Nope.
I mean, like, we had that first Capuzzi Glass mastermind. That's what started me on my trajectory. And if it wasn't for those guys, I wouldn't be here where I am now. And that is the true beauty. And if somebody's looking for the magic purple pill, that's it. I would say a mastermind group, if you take it, if you getting involved in a mastermind group is probably the magic purple pill, if you're looking for that. If you do everything you're supposed to do in a mastermind group, you have to participate, you have to be accountable, just like what you're saying. You have to come to the table with, here's my shit, like, help me. You have to open your kimono, you have to expose yourself, you have to do all of those things. You You're right about having a good facilitator. Not all masterminds are built the same. That's my point.
Yeah.
It's like when you come to a GLM mastermind, and you have two. So like, you brought up icon level. Like icon level is the higher level, right? That's $1 million and beyond.
Yeah. So that's seven figures and up, and I'll go ahead and correct just a bit of language. It's the higher revenue level, but I never like to say that it's the higher level, right? Because they're independent journeys of each other, and neither journey is better than one or the other.
Right. Some people choose very wisely to have a smaller, very profitable law firm. Whatever it's just. I think the icon level is just the bigger.
They're bigger firms. Yeah.
Yeah, big firms.
Yeah.
And they have different challenges. They have different kinds of, and I love the way that you kind of categorized it for me when you were first telling me about this new concept where the heroes, they have different challenges. At the hero level, the 0 to $1 million, we're concerned about, and this is true of any business. It's not just law firms.
Yeah.
It's any business. It doesn't matter. You could do the same thing to any business. We're concerned about leads. We're concerned about traffic. We're concerned about how the hell do I run this place? We're concerned about, hiring. We're concerned about budgets and costs, and pretty much, it's amateur hour at this point. We're in like grade school, and Icon is more, we've got all that stuff resolved. We've got heavy lead flow. We need to know what the hell it's coming from. We have a great marketing, we're spending a lot of money on marketing. Is it the right kind of money, or is it the right kind of marketing? So there are different questions being asked. Now you have a staff of, 10, 15, 20 people. So your management of staff questions are way different than one or two. So did I sum it up pretty good for you?
Yeah. I'll kind of overlap on those.
Yeah. Do that.
Yeah. So for the hero, like a basic example if I give in the difference between a hero firm and an icon firm has to do directly with the hiring thing. Now, before I get into that, I'll say if I were to sum up the journeys very succinctly, the hero journey, the getting to $1 million, is about being the chief marketing officer of your law firm. That is the driver. You can look in Paul Higgins' book, Build, Live, Give. You can look at Michael Masterson's Ready, Fire, Aim. All of them agree on one central concept, which is the first $1 million is a marketing and sales game. And the owner of the business needs to drive that first $1 million. That is crucial.
That's very well said, yeah.
Crucial. The icon journey is now about being the CEO. It's about executive decision-making. It is about so much. It's about you not having control of the day-to-day. It is the journey of self-discovery, of giving away parts of yourself as a business owner.
Yeah, it's about delegating more. It's about managing more. It's where the first is the journey of growth, I would say, where you're in learning. It's not that you're always learning and growing, but that's where like a lot of that inertia is. It's like when you're a kid, you're growing. But then you have to manage it. Once you've grown that $1 million business, that $1 million law firm, things change after you become a $1 million law firm. That's the point, is that now you got a $1 million law firm. Now you have to manage the growth of it. And that's very, very well said, Charlie. Like that you're the CMO and then you become the CEO. That's 100%. That was true for me when I transitioned from $1 million company to where I am now. And it's true. It's true of any business, 100%.
Yeah, and we operate with universal business truths. And another thing here is when you look at that journey, that six-figure, that hero journey, there's a reason we call it hero and icon as well. The hero, you can imagine the person sort of muscling through. They've got everyone attached to their arms and they're pulling the whole business forward, raw brute strength. It is about my internal force taking care of the business. And then when you get to that icon level, it changes. You should no longer be the one doing the marching. You should now be the one building the people who do that work. You should be building heroes in your firm. Icon
well said.
Steps up and influences the other heroes. It's now we've gone from the individual comic book to the Justice League or the Avengers, where you have a Tony Stark or you have a Superman figure who is up there setting the philosophy, setting the culture, setting the mission of this whole thing. And then I want to make sure that I hit the hiring example that I had earlier to close that loop as an example of hiring in Hero versus Icon. The hero level, you're usually hiring generalists. You're hiring people who can wear many hats. It's a phrase every business owner has heard. We tend to place a premium on wears many hats employees. However, when you get to the icon level, when you have $1 million plus business of any kind, you now move to specialists. And this can be a tricky transition for many, because no longer should you hire someone who answers the phone, who is also a paralegal, who also does your onboarding paperwork HR style. You should have a paralegal, you should have an intake specialist, and you should have an outsourced HR company. You now move into specialization, because transformative power at that level is about specialization. It's not about, again, that hero mentality of got all of it on me. It's about the icon who now has heroes who do things very specifically.
Delegation. Yeah.
Like all things that happen in the water, Aquaman goes and handles those.
Right.
And now that's what you're doing.
And you tell Aquaman to do it.
Yes,
tell
exactly.
Aquaman to do it. Exactly. You're running the show. You're delegating, and a very important part of delegating is getting data back. So you have to manage your KPIs. You have to know what you're doing, and that's everything that you learn at the accelerator level of Icon. You have Icon Accelerator, right? Which is the mastermind group of the Icon level.
Yep.
So you have another mastermind at that level. So you got everybody covered.
Yes.
And I got to tell you, everybody that's listening to this, if you're not, or I know that a lot of people that are listening are already involved in the group. In all my years, I have, of course, Ben Glass to thank for putting me on the map in the first place. But Ben and I have been friends for
a long time,
very long time. And we are in alignment in our marketing, and Charley has years ago taken on the great legal marketing, and this hero and icon transformation that you've done is just outstanding and fantastic. And the output, in other words, I know all of these attorneys that have gone through the system. I remember what they were like before they were transformed. They were starving and pretending. They were these, in many ways, lying to themselves, and now they're not. Now they're and they're not worried about the same things that they were worried about before. They're not worried about, are there leads coming in? Is there traffic? How do I know? Because they've got all the systems in place. They've got all the processes in place. They've got everything worked out, because they've learned it from you and from the members in Great Legal Marketing and in the mastermind groups. So I could not endorse, like I said, if you do anything in your marketing, the first step is to get involved in Great Legal Marketing, because it will transform you. All roads start there. Charley and Ben and all the other members will guide you and tell you, what vendor you should use, or if you should do this, or if you should try this campaign. There ain't nothing that you could ask this group that hasn't been done or tried, right, Charley? I mean, like,
yeah. And that's a point of discovery for people.
Yeah.
It is so easy to feel alone in the entrepreneur journey, because here we go back to internal honesty. When you go out a lot of times to, say, the local bar association, networking events, things like that, you have a lot of people there who they're in your community and they're looking to protect, right? They're looking to protect reputation. They're looking to appear more important, more of greater wealth. And
it's our egos, of course. Yeah, it's our ego. Yeah, can't help it. All of us are like that.
Absolutely. And when you have that prevents you from having the real significant conversations that make an impact. And that even goes towards, why the heck we had a perfectly good business model in the first place. Why the heck did we go to this Hero and Icon program? It was in large part because of witnessing firms that I knew were 2, 3, 4 people be quiet in a room of people who had firms with 12 to 20 people, or the opposite. Rooms where people who had 3 people understaffed were the loudest voice in the room, opposite these quiet firm owners who had 15 to 50 people under roof. And I could see this dissonance developing. I knew we need a place for each group to actually be honest, where people can let their guard down, and where the bigger firms don't feel like they're giving away secrets, even though they're not, and tend to be very generous, and where the people who have smaller firms can just be honest and go, I feel so stuck and I don't have $100,000 to spend right now to
Right.
myself.
Right. You've created 2 communities that are more in sync and more in alignment in their fears and their needs and their concerns. You're 100%. And of course there's an ascension. I mean, like, there's been a lot that have come from Hero and moved into Icon as a result of being successful in the Hero program.
Right.
So, I mean, it's a win-win-win.
Yes.
And so, I mean, Charlie, well, I can tell you this, it's created better clients for us. Of course, you know, we have a lot of the same clients, and I mean, they've made better clients for us. And of course, I hope that we've been able to make them, you know, good for you guys as well. You know, the technology to make sure that they're successful. Well, Charlie, dude, I appreciate you, man. It is great. I know you're a busy guy. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day. Tell everybody how they can get more information about getting involved in the Hero or the Icons program at Great Legal Marketing. What do they do?
So you got to go to greatlegalmarketing.com. That's the place that you start. There are some free resources, but there's also, click on the button that says join, right? Click there. I truly encourage people to dive in. I'll just speak to myself as a learner usually. So I'm at that point now where when it comes to how do I grow, I don't waste time on it. I actually was talking with someone recently. I said, I don't even really request free reports anymore. If someone's written a book that I like, or if I've encountered someone on a podcast I like, I buy something because I want to get in. I want the good stuff. That's my personal behavior.
Sure.
And, you know, things like getting involved with groups, I tend to, and Ben's the same way too. If I jive with the philosophy, I get in on it. And that's the thing. So, you know, look, if someone hears all this and they don't jive with it, that's okay. I would never force that person to get involved, right? But if you hear this and you're like, oh my God, a couple of these examples felt eerily close to where I am. Like for the Icon, I should give a quick example on that. You know, working with a firm owner who is in their mid 40s, late 50s, who's got an established business. A lot of times they've got a kid who's about to launch off to college, maybe kids in college or graduated from college even. And they're thinking more and more about like, hey, I've got this really cool life still ahead of me that I want to build something amazing out of it. This legacy that I'm constructing. I've spent so much time being a parent. What's my next step in life? A lot of our Icon firms kind of live in that space. And it's
right.
What is fascinating to me is a person who, and again, intellectual, internal honesty, a parent who's transitioning out of full-time parenting and looking for something to fill that gap. That energy, when placed back into your business and really placed back into your business as a conduit to place it back into your life, can be crazy transformative. And I think it is and
it's fun.
Yes. And it's an underutilized emotional energy that people
it's enjoyable. Totally.
Your journey. I mean, so Tom, you do have a couple of youngins, but you also have some who are off launching into the world. So you've kind of got that split there, but you get to put part of that development of human being energy back into Foster Web Marketing. You get to create people. You get to continue your paternal energy flow in the world because you have a business. And that's the same thing for members who have kids who are graduating. You get to bring your paternal, maternal energy back into that and develop people and coach people and see them as the next generation for the world and for your law firm. And that's another cool journey at the icon level that I've encountered many times over.
I think really, the bottom line of that is that it's fun when, if you can overcome the hurdle of getting involved in a group, like if that's your thing, which was kind of my thing, like, because I'm a very independent, yeah, you and I are very much alike like that, very independent. So, I mean, like Ben, grabbed me by the ear and just said, come on, we're doing this. And I like reluctantly, did it. And, but wow, I mean, like it opened me up, and what a joy. And the other thing is that it changes you from like, shit, I got to do marketing and I got to work on my business, or that kind of mentality where it's a pain in the butt, to something that's fun and enjoyable, because you're doing things that are working, and they're based on success, and you're working with people that are motivating you and inspiring you. And it's like, it's a great thing. So all around. So if you're looking for something out there and you're hearing this, and if you're not involved in great legal marketing, or even if you were involved in great legal marketing at some point in the past, it's a whole new ball game now.
Come on back. It's brand new treats. It's brand new tools,
yeah.
Brand new.
So try it again. And they've always got good stuff. I know that this man works tirelessly on, that is my man, Charley Mann, tirelessly on creating great programs, a variety of programs, marketing, internal business processes, you name it, to help law firms, small to large. So I encourage anybody. So greatlegalmarketing.com. And we'll put all of Charley's information, contact information in the description too, down below, so you can check it out. But Charley, man, thank you so much.
Thank you, Tom.
Say hi to Ben. See, Ben is too big for this these days. Ben is like, who knows where he is? Is he around?
No.
No, he's not even there. He's like, who knows where he is? He's like too big.
Well,
anyway, go give him a kiss on the forehead for me.
I actually think right now he's in a mastermind meeting for another group that he's in. I literally think
great. Yeah, because he's in. Okay, well, give him a kiss.
Will do.
Okay, buddy. Thanks, Charley Mann. All right.
It was a pleasure.
Everybody, Tom Foster on the World of Marketing with my great guest, Charley Mann. We will see you soon.